Good morning. Welcome to an episode of Breakfast Analysis. Today we're going to be talking about the world's hottest topic, coronavirus, and how it might be affecting Rainbow Six Siege and the wider esports ecosystem. Of course, I don't need to tell people what coronavirus is, but it's had a huge effect already on the esports world, on the entertainment world. Of course, we've seen a lot of sports leagues canceled. The NBA, the NHL, both gone now. The MLB, I believe, is also suspending their start of their season for a little while. So everything's kind of in disarray, and sort of there is some hope maybe that esports will actually benefit from this disease because compared to regular forms of entertainment, we don't really get hit as hard by a disease like this. Forcing people to play inside their homes. It's kind of what people have done for a long time in esports already. So I would say esports is a little bit better well off with this than most people, but esports is still getting hit pretty hard. Rainbow Six will likely be hit relatively hard by this, just like every other esport. So let's dissect what might happen to Rainbow Six and how this might affect our scene. I will say the timing was quite good for coronavirus, if that can ever be a good thing. The timing they kind of did get right. It obviously started late last year, but it didn't really start getting bad until after the Invitational was already over. The entire Siege ecosystem is kind of in this break right now. You've had a few national programs start back up. Britain's already going already, and Spain are both going with their national programs. But for the most part, no games are really being played right now in Rainbow Six Siege. So that's kind of nice. It hasn't hurt us immediately, but it seems like this thing's going to last for a little bit longer. And so this is probably going to affect Siege down the road when our big events, our big tournaments start coming up, and what's actually going to happen to those. So maybe give you guys a bit of a better idea of what could happen. Most other esports, in fact, basically every other major esport has already made some sort of announcement, cancellation, postponement, something like that. I'm going to jump through all of those just so we can kind of get an idea of what might be happening to our scene in Dota. ESL 1 Los Angeles, Dota Major has been postponed until to be announced. So they get 5 majors plus the Invitational every year, while the International, as they call it. And one of those has been postponed. All the teams were already decided. It was going to be in Los Angeles, of course. And they just said, nope, not happening anymore. When will it be? Nobody really knows. Where will it be? Again, nobody knows. A lot of question marks for Dota right now. CSGO, we're in a position where the major's not for a little bit still in CSGO, but they are going to be having the start of the two of the newer leagues coming up in CSGO, 2 of the franchise leagues. ESL Pro League was one of those, of course, and they're going to be playing their league all online with a studio finals. So that was going to be an entirely LAN league, not happening anymore. They're putting the finals out of a stadium, and they're sending all the players home to play online. That's a big change for them. They're one of their competitors, ESL Pro League Flashpoint, is another league coming up for CSGO. A little bit lower tier teams, but they will be playing their matches on a LAN. It won't be in a tournament like they wanted to. It's all going to be in a studio. The finals will be in the same studio. So both leagues can have studio finals. Flashpoint going to keep things in studio, where ESL Pro League move things online. Neither really ideal. Neither going to be a big spectator system, or spectator event, I should say, as you would want. Also, of course, the most recent one, ESL Katowice, a big event for CSGO that was obviously played in a big empty stadium, and that was really the first esports event that really got hit hard by the coronavirus. And obviously, a lot of people who had gone out to see that event were quite disappointed with that result. But I think at least now we can all see that was probably a good decision by them. In Overwatch, all Homesteads are canceled for April and March. What that means is now usually that's going to be a traveling LAN league that goes to multiple different cities where teams play in their own cities. All of the tournaments in March and April have been canceled for LAN. They still want to play them in March and April. They haven't said when or how. That might be in a studio, that might be online. They're just not going to be at the original Homesteads. That's all we really know for them. That's a lot of LANs that Overwatch just canceled. That's Washington, Dallas, Paris, Toronto, Los Angeles, Boston, Dallas again, San Francisco, London, Atlanta, and Miami. 10 LANs plus one unannounced location, all being totally canceled for Overwatch League. So a lot of preparations kind of thrown into the garbage for that ecosystem. Obviously, a really terrible time for Overwatch League to make this big step for them into going to a Homestead model. So unfortunate in that respect for them. Rocket League, the Season 9 finals have been totally canceled. Those are supposed to be played in Dallas in a few months. They're just in the middle of Season 9 for Rocket League, so Rocket League worked very similar to how Siege worked in Year 4 and before, where you have a 6-month season, and then you go to a LAN. Everybody from all the regions go to a LAN somewhere at the end of it. They've just canceled their LAN. They're going to keep playing out the rest of Season 9. It's not over yet. So they're going to play out the rest of Season 9, but there's not going to be a Season 9 finals. The developers of Rocket League haven't announced what's going to happen, but they're looking into alternatives for a finals. What that means, nobody really knows. They might do it in a studio. They might do like regional finals and just there's no global winner for Season 9. It'll be interesting to see what they end up doing. League of Legends, North America and Europe were both initially supposed to be played on LAN without people in the stands. So League of Legends works similar to how Siege is going to work in the future, where every region sort of acts independently and there's not a whole lot. I mean, they all go to the same tournaments at the end of the year, but their regular systems all work quite differently. So North America and Europe are usually like you've got 1 or 2 cities in NA and EU, and they'll just play their seasons in those cities in a big stadium with crowds. They initially both announced that the LCS and the LEC will be played still on LAN with all the players and the staff, but the fans will no longer be allowed into the audience. A few hours ago, as I was making this script, if you want to call it that, this research for this video, the European League, LEC, actually decided that they would be postponing the season, the entire thing. They don't want staff members there. They don't want players there. They're just not going to play games for a while. When it's coming back, nobody really knows. They said that nobody has tested positive in terms of players or staff, but they do have concern that one staff member might have the coronavirus, so they've just shut everything down. They're saying we're going to do this later, and the LEC will not be played for a little while. The Korean League was postponed, so when it's starting up, nobody really knows. Obviously, Korea is a huge region. It's the biggest region for League of Legends, so their regular season has been put off. When it will start, nobody knows. The Southeast Asia Pro League was postponed from the start of February to the end of February. They have started playing, and that was always going to be an online league, so Southeast Asia for League of Legends bumped back a bit, but it is now going relatively smoothly for them. And then the China Pro League, the China League for League of Legends, was postponed for a couple of months. Now they're playing it online. So initially that was also a LAN league where they played in a big city with all the players on LAN and fans in the stadium, but they're just doing it all online for China. So different leagues in League of Legends taking different approaches, different regions doing things differently, with obviously North America now playing in empty stadiums, China playing online, Europe just canceling everything altogether. Probably we'll see some more developments coming out of there. I wouldn't be surprised if North America follows lead of Europe or China and also stops putting their players and staff in a big stadium, because a lot of people are doing that. But we have yet to see. A bunch of Smash tournaments were canceled, fighting game tournaments as well. The big one, Pound 2020, which is a big tournament in Maryland. Unfortunate for them. They do have a lot of tournaments typically, but there's also a lot less money in that scene. So when stuff falls through, it really does hurt the community harder than it hits most of their esports. So they're not in a good time. And then Call of Duty, the last one I want to talk about, similar to Overwatch League, they've canceled the rest of their season, at least for the first split. I think that the Call of Duty season is a year-long thing with 2 splits, so you play in every city twice. And we're about like a third of the way through the first split, I would say. And they've canceled the rest of it. So again, just like Overwatch, that's a bunch of individual lands all getting killed. They're going to be doing online format instead, so they have come out and announced what the plan is to recover from those tournaments. So nobody's going to be on LAN, nobody's going to be in the stadiums, but there will at least be Call of Duty to be played, so the fans can still watch something. It's just all going to be online. So again, that tournament's canceled in Dallas. Dallas has really been hit hard by this. There's a lot of tournaments that are no longer going to be in Dallas thanks to coronavirus. Dallas, Chicago, Florida, Seattle, Minnesota, Paris, New York City, Boston, and Toronto, London and Toronto, all getting canceled due to the coronavirus. And Rainbow Six Siege hasn't said anything. No word from Ubisoft, no word from ESL. It's really the only major esport that has made zero statements on how the coronavirus might affect the scene. Not that I think that they're ignoring anything, really just like Rainbow Six is a bit of an off-season right now, so there's not a lot to talk about. I'm sure as we get closer to the online season, things will either proceed as normal because it's just online for Rainbow Six right now, or there'll be some sort of announcement like, hey, these are the changes that are coming up, or whatever happens. It seems like the Premiership finals are going to run into some trouble. They haven't, again, made any statements for ESL Prem, but that's, of course, the UK and Ireland's national program. But the venue where they were supposed to hold their events have started canceling events. I think they were supposed to be holding it in, like, a university. And the university started, like, shutting down classes and canceling events. So likely Premiership is going to have to do something about that. In the wider Siege scene, Pro League Finals, as I mentioned, Season 11 is not supposed to be played on LAN, so there shouldn't be any issues, but that doesn't mean that there's not going to be any disruptions to our scene. First of all, you got to think of the casters. Now, they were all supposed to be situated in Poland and talking like that. There have been talks, not so much in Siege, but in stuff like League of Legends, of maybe casters casting from their bedrooms, which would be a huge shift and a huge step backwards, obviously, for the scene. But it has been talked about for other esports, whether it's being considered for Rainbow Six, I don't know, but it might happen. And then on the player's point of view, there's also been a lot of announcements coming out from organizations who have said stuff like, well, we're not letting our teams like play in their team house, or we're not letting our teams leave the team house, right? I know Dark Zero came out and said we're taking a bunch of extra precautions. Team Liquid came out and said we're taking a bunch of extra precautions. Nobody's really been too specific on what those precautions are, but you might see, players not playing from their team houses. You might see fewer staff perhaps in those team houses, because it's not just 5 guys in a house, right? Especially not 5 guys who stay inside and play video games all day. Like, they've got support in those houses. They've got a lot of people who are running around during the day in a team house. So maybe they don't want all of their staff members in one place like that. And esports is an industry where you really can just make people play from home. So that might be what happens for Rainbow Six Pro League, especially in North America, where we have a lot of those team houses. The Season 11 finals will probably be canceled. Again, there's been no official word on this, so don't go around saying that it has been canceled for sure, because I have heard nothing about this either. But the Season 11 finals in Sao Paulo, which were scheduled for May, probably going to have some issues. Brazil has been hit like relatively mildly compared to the rest of the world, but I mean, the whole world is really struggling from this. There's definitely cases in Brazil, and so we're probably not going to see the tournament played down there. What the solution will be, I don't know. Again, Rocket League is probably the most similar example we have to Rainbow Six Siege in terms of tournament structure. And they canceled the event and said, we'll do something, maybe. We'll look into options. Probably Rainbow Six will do something similar. I hope what we get is at least like a studio LAN finals. Maybe there's no crowd, but maybe everybody can gather, whether that's in Brazil or a country that just has a very low rate of coronavirus, somewhere that ESL feels safe sending all these players to, and Ubisoft feels safe sending all these players to. And hopefully there can still be a champion crowned for Season 11. We might just have the same thing as Rocket League, where there's no worldwide champion, and there's just going to be like a North American Season 11 champion, and yada yada yada. That would be interesting, because of course that'd be the first season, and probably almost certainly the only season of Rainbow Six Siege where we wouldn't have a global champion. So that would be weird, but it might happen, and that's probably worst case scenario for Season 11. Season 12 is where the issues really start to stack up. If this is still getting bad by like June, July, we're probably not going to see North America go to a LAN format. That was sort of the big selling point, at least for a lot of people. The big change coming in Season 12 in Year 5 is North America is moving to a LAN format. Brazil was also going for a LAN format. Mexico, I mean, a lot of the regions in North America were supposed to be going to this LAN format. That's definitely in question now. Whether they're going to just tell teams, well, thanks for moving to the city, you're all set up, but we're not going to bring you into the studio. You just got to play online anyways. That would really suck, but it would be understandable. Maybe they'll just say, maybe they'll keep playing it with an empty stadium, similar to North American League of Legends' current approach. That's going to be more of a question of what the coronavirus and the global situation looks like come this summer. It's supposed to maybe die down in the summer from the news articles I've heard. Most like respiratory flu-like diseases, as the coronavirus tends to struggle in the warmer temperatures. So hopefully, if we're in North America, it gets a little bit warm in the States, it won't be an issue, and they can just feel safe enough to play it on LAN, at least without spectators. That would be ideal, but there's a very real chance that we might be playing another online season of North American Pro League. I'd anticipate that's the result. I'd expect we probably just cancel the Season 11 finals, don't crown a Season 11 champion, and we play North America online, simply due to the fact that Rainbow Six is at a point in its life that we're very used to playing online. It's not like, League of Legends or Overwatch, where like this is going to be a drastic shift, a big jump backwards. We're just not really taking the step forwards that we were originally going to. So, I mean, we've played a lot of games online in Rainbow Six. We can probably survive one more season of that, or even it might just be like half a season or like a few months. Hopefully it's short term, whatever the case is, but I'm sure Ubisoft and the runners of that league will do the best they can to provide a good entertainment while still being safe. And then the last couple tournaments we have in this year are going to be the North American Major, which is going to be in August, and then the European Major in October. Again, that's really way too far out to really say what the global situation is going to be like. If it's somewhere warm in the summer and things have kind of gotten a lot better in the US, then hopefully that major will still happen. Similarly, if by October this is kind of all blown over, the European major will still go as planned, but it's really way too early to do anything but speculate for those. I mean, we're speculating for everything, I guess, but a lot of questions in terms of that. So that's all we got, really. Mostly this was just to give some examples of what's happening in esports around the world. Ubisoft and ESL have said nothing as of yet, but that's not super surprising because we've been in a huge break for Rainbow Six Siege, and I'm sure that there are a lot of conversations going on internally about what's going to happen for Season 11, what's going to happen for Season 12, and all we can really do is sit around and wait. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you found it a little bit informative, and I'll see you guys next time. Please stay safe, and yeah, I'll see you later. Bye-bye.